My brother, hey there.
Kia ora. Hello, bro. Nice to connect.
Oh man, great to connect with you, brother. And it's brother Ru, is how you pronounce
Brother
it?
Ru.
Okay,
Yeah, man.
brother Ru Mackenzie. Man, what was the word that you used just now? You said Kyoto?
Kia ora. Yeah, it's a New Zealand greeting. Um, it can be used for many things like hello, see you soon, welcome, kia ora. It's like a kia ora. Yeah, it's
Kia ora.
a kia ora. Yeah, a New Zealand Maori word. But I grew up there, but I'm living in Australia at the moment.
Okay, so you're actually not like from Australia originally.
No, I'm a Kiwi. I was born in Scotland, but I
Mm.
grew up my what 0 to 18. I was in New Zealand, so I consider myself a Kiwi, a New Zealander.
08 in New Zealand. So I didn't even know they were called Kiwis.
Yeah, 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 bro. That's what yeah, New Zealanders kind of slang nickname is a Kiwi. I don't know if it comes from the kiwi fruit or the kiwi bird or a combination of the two, but yeah,
This is why I need to travel. You
yeah,
know,
man.
I need to travel. I need to see more of the world just for these reasons right here. And so 0 to 8 in New Zealand, and then you came to Australia and you've been there since then?
Sorry, yeah, 0 to 18. So my whole my family lives in New Zealand now, and
Okay.
all my schooling there, and then straight after high school,
Mhm.
um, to Australia, and I've been here the last sort of 10 or 11 years with a little stint in Scotland, um, playing rugby in between.
Awesome, awesome. I mean, you seem very athletic, so I'm sure that you were, doing it up in Scotland playing rugby. That's a physical sport for sure.
Oh, bro. Well, it's actually kind of what's led me to this different path is that such a brutal sport and my body was just broken.
Uh,
That was my dream for the most of my life. Like I know in America, it'd probably be similar to NFL,
right.
like someone wanting to make the NFL or like their dream team. There's a team in New Zealand called the All Blacks, and they represent New Zealand, and that for me was the goal.
Mm,
Um, and it was like that one focus for like 20 odd years of my
mm,
life until my body just completely broke down, and then it became a an unwinding process and a self-healing journey of yeah, building back some health and non-pain in my body.
right. So, wow, that's big. Just, to be able to unpack like what you just said, Ru, about just, rugby being a very physical sport, very contact sport, and, comparing it to the NFL, of course, because when you had that focus in that direction and you had that objective, that directive for so many years, you said it was 2 decades that you were looking at rugby. Rugby was like your focus.
Mm. Yeah, man. That was it. Like everything I did was dedicated towards being a better rugby player. All my gym sessions, the food I ate to try and get bigger and stronger,
Mm,
the people I lived with, like all of it. And as much as it was a a physical thing, the letting go process was such an emotional and a mental thing as well.
okay.
Um, so yeah, it's been a journey, man, but I'm grateful for all of those experiences, connect with some awesome people, took me all around the world. Uh, and, but it's not for me anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How challenging was that? The mental aspect of letting go of something that you had held on to for so long. How challenging was it for you mentally?
Mm. Well, the hardest part, bro, was that was my identity. That was who I thought I was.
Hmm.
And it's interesting, when I got the professional contract, the dream come true over in Scotland, after a couple of months, I was like, this is not it. I don't enjoy this. As soon as it became like this thing I had to do, I lost all the love for it.
Mm.
Um, and my body broke down even more. I was trying to like, compete and prove myself in this new environment. And I actually ended up in a coma when I was over there because looking at it energetically, uh, I was in such a low state of being that, bacteria and viruses, they're gonna uh, shut down the body a lot more easily than like if I got the same thing now, I know that it wouldn't even touch me.
Mm.
But back then, because I was such in a constricted, closed state of being and I wasn't enjoying life, um, it just overrun my system and nearly took me out. But I'm still here, so yeah, lots to go by. But the reason I was sharing
Mm.
that is I went home to New Zealand and I recovered. And because my identity was so wrapped up in being a rugby player, I didn't know what else to do. So they offered me a opportunity to go back, and I did, even though I'd like did not. There wasn't a cell in my body that wanted to. It was the only real thing that I thought I could do. Um, so I went back, and then the first tackle I did on a soft tackle bag, I paralyzed my left shoulder, and then I was like, okay, time to make some change. And uh, I went back to Australia. I loved it in Australia, in the sunshine. Played rugby for the love of it again. Had a couple of the best seasons of my life. And then, as I was unwinding things, I was listening to a lot of podcasts because I
Mm.
was working on a golf course,
Mm.
cutting grass. And it was a very meditative thing to do. And it led me to just opening my mind to possibility of
Mm.
different things that I could be doing with my life. And it led down a road of understanding breath work and giving that a go. You probably come across Wim Hof. He appealed to me at the time with the crazy things he did. And it just opened me to a new world of possibility and understanding myself.
Yes.
And that led to wanting to heal all the damage that I'd done with, to my body over the years through the physical nature of the sport I was playing.
Okay.
Um,
Mm.
so
Wow.
yeah, that's a little bit of the background, bro.
Wow, brother. Wow, but incredible journey. I'm glad that you're still here. I'm glad you're still with us and that, it wasn't even more serious than it already was because I can only imagine, being in a coma, like for anybody who hasn't gone through that experience, how long were you down? Like, how long were you in the coma? Do you remember anything from that that stage? And then when you came back, what was it like coming back?
Mm. It was it was a trip, bro.
Okay.
I so going like so the thing was bacterial or viral meningitis. I still didn't really know exactly what it was, but one night I was feeling like I was getting like a really bad headache, like a bad headache times 1,000. Like I was getting stabbed in the head with a knife. And I called the doctor, the team doctor, and he got someone to come and check me. And he's like, it could be this. So he gave me some antibiotics straight away and into the hospital. And I didn't really think anything of it. And then 3 days later, I woke up and my family was there. My family that lived in New Zealand, and I was like, "Hang on, what the fuck's going on here?" And so, yeah, most people either have severe brain damage, which who knows, I might have some of that, but or they don't, come through. So I count my blessings every day, and it's yeah, it's I can't remember being in the coma. People say, "Oh, is there, things that happen?" I'm like, I don't know. But after either side of it, I remember. I remember being in the hospital for a month after and losing, 20 kilos of weight.
Mm.
And that was interestingly one of the hardest things, is I'd worked so hard to build this big body, this strong body, this identity.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one time where the emotion just flooded out of me when I got on the scales and I
Mm.
realized I'd lost 20 kilos of mass that I'd built over this time, which is crazy because that is exactly, I look at it as that's what the universe was asking of me, to let go of this version of me.
Okay.
And I did. It took me a few years, but I did. And yeah, it's been a journey.
Man, it sounds like it, brother. Just I'm like imagining you just walking into the hospital, and then you said you just woke up and your family was around you, like just like what's going on here, and just the identity of, like you said, bulking up, really building your body, building the mass, and you know, kind of. I'm sure, like myself, years ago, I was under like the protein programming of just protein, 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 all of that. Were you really big into that as well?
Oh yeah, bro. Yeah. To be honest, I'd eat anything and everything back then, but yeah, it was a lot about, yeah, just
Yeah.
bulking. I got up to 107 kilos, and I'm at about what I feel like a very healthy weight now, which is about 85.
Okay.
So I was 22 kilos
Wow.
overweight. Um,
Wow.
but because I was training so much, I didn't get fat. I was quite inflamed. I look at old photos, a puffy face and just puffy all over. And I was sick 2 or 3 times a year. I would, constantly have some sort of pain or injury, whether that be the shoulder or the knee. Um, and I've had a couple of surgeries on my knee, and I thought I would never be able to, run properly. It was always going to be like this painful thing that I just had to put up with.
Mm.
But now it's 100%. I sprint most
Mm-hmm.
days. I can bend it in all directions, and it's purely from removing the inflammation from my body
True.
and and evolving into a different human being where that pain doesn't exist. And it's something that it really inspires me to share with other humans because I know a lot of people think they've got to live with these chronic conditions or these pains, and they don't. The
Mm.
body can heal from fucking anything if we give it the right environment, if we allow it to rest and we support that rejuvenation, which it naturally does.
Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree. And it's tremendous just to have that testimony, just to know for yourself, like firsthand, your lived experience to know that the body can
Mm,
do it and it can come back, no matter what. It's amazing just to feel that energy raising within you and to know that, I mean, geez, so many times, like if something has happened to somebody and it's like there are people around them that are in different camps. Like some people just count them out and say, hey, this is just how it's going to be for the rest of your life. You're not going to have that function, or you're not going to have this function, or you're going to be in dysfunction forever. And you're going to need this, you're going to need that, and this is going to have to sustain you, and this is going to have to maintain you. And they're like, no, they don't accept that. So
yeah.
you were one of the people that you're like, no, I'm going to make my way back. My body is the healer and the great revealer. You know?
Mm.
Yeah.
I love that,
Beautiful.
bro. The healer and the great revealer.
Yeah.
And I resonated with what you're saying there about that lived experience.
Hmm.
It's so true. When we can experience things firsthand, you don't need the book, the fucking scientific literature telling you that it works. You fucking know it works. And then you can share from that lived experience, and it's a felt thing. That's what I love is sharing experience and allowing people to feel it. And because truth is a resonance, it's an energy, it's a vibration, and people feel that if they're open to it. And so I just practiced having an open mind to things and letting go of beliefs that I'd had for long periods of time, and it led me to shift my living experience and how I approached life very quickly.
Okay.
Um, Purely just from opening that mind and going, well, what if I was wrong? What if I didn't fucking know? What if all the things that I've been taught were were not true, and I just started again and went from and looked to the things and the people that I resonated with, that feel like they're full of life, that are healthy. What are they saying? Not the guy in the white cloak and the little cubicle fucking giving you
Right.
pills. Like, what are the people that look like they're full of life? What do they say?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the journey that I embarked on.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful journey. You remind me, Ru, brother, when you're talking about like just the feeling of truth and then the understanding of non-understanding or the knowing of not knowing or the certainty of no certainty, you know?
Mm,
Just like I think it was Socrates or one of those great philosophers that mentioned, there's one thing that I know, and that is I know nothing. You
mm,
know? And I
mm.
saw you put on threads, brother, you put like it was something like stupid people believe, that they're the most certain about everything. Like
Yeah.
the most, foolish ones are the ones that feel that they have all the certainty and that they just know for sure. And, I feel like some of the wisest people are the ones who are able to question what they think that they know, you know?
Mm,
So yeah, that is awesome of you to be able to let go in so many ways, to release in so many ways, and to relinquish, a lot of the programming. I'd love to hear from you, what are I guess, what are your influences when it comes to that? The things that we think that we know that we hold on to, especially now living your lifestyle now, your style of living when it comes to fruit based, being 95% fruit back versus back then when you said you were eating everything, how much did you have to let go to pick up this lifestyle?
oh, bro. The eating and the culture and the programming around eating and what we consume is fucking deep. Like, it runs real deep. And it becomes addiction. And then when someone's addicted to something, they'll convince themselves any way possible to that it's all good, or that it's all right. But so when it comes to that, wow. So this was a couple of years ago. I began to let go of the way I was eating, and approach it again with that blank canvas and go, well, actually, what if I got it wrong? And what if I just, what is the deepest truth? And for me, bro, what I do is, it's my intuition that really guides me, and I trust that. And sometimes, if I want deeper insights, I'll use some cannabis, and that allows me to really dissolve the intellectual mind and get into the body, and it will guide me to certain people, certain things, or understandings of how this thing works. And what happened with the food is, I started rejecting. So I was hardcore into like the animal based, Paul Saladino, carnivore kind of stuff, eating organs and all of it, and nutrient density, this kind of programming, and there was always something in me going, it's not quite right. If I honestly reflect with truth, there was a part of me going, I could never like convince myself like we're these conscious human beings, and love for me is the message. Love is the message, and that it never sit right with me. Like, we're literally farming these beautiful creatures, and we put a fucking electric bolt in their head. There's no like way of getting around that. Like, like if people eat meat, I fully believe they should have to kill the beast, the animal, with their own hands, to as a initiation, if they truly feel that that's what they want to be eating. I now know my body can thrive. I can put on muscle, lean muscle. I have greater endurance. I have way more energy, sustainable energy, from not eating anything else but fruit. I've come to the understanding that the body thrives with perfect hydration, all the minerals that we need, and to build the muscle, it comes down to the amino acids, and they can be found in a variety of fruits. Avocados have it all, and I supplement with a thing called marine phytoplankton. I don't feel I need to do this, but this is more of a thing just to cover all bases. Um, So I think I diverged a little bit there from the question, but here we are.
All good, brother. I love the memory lane that you're leading us down. You know, the journey that you're leading us down when you're speaking of your origin story on questioning what you thought you knew and just coming to the understanding of like,
Mm,
wait a minute, that's not quite right. Wait, how does that work? Like, why are we doing this? And it is very reminiscent of myself. I resonate with you a lot, Ru, because it was a documentary just some years ago that I watched, and it was called Earthlings. You ever seen this one?
I haven't, no.
Okay, it's Earthlings. It's narrated by Joaquin Phoenix. It's free on YouTube, and they have it. And oh man, when I saw that, like when I watched that documentary, bro, my life was changed. My whole
Mm,
life. And it was like it was illuminating an area of what's going on in society, but it was right there. It was always there. You know,
mm,
it was almost like I didn't want to see it, but then once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. You know,
mm,
couldn't, I couldn't unknow what I found out when I watched that
mm,
video of,
mm,
just people in the slaughterhouses with the hidden cameras, and they're showing the footage of what goes on behind the scenes at,
mm,
these animal farming, agriculture, like the dairy farms and all of these places. And like you said, the bolt, just putting them down with the bolt and then just taking away the children. And then the mother is crying and the camera's looking at her eyes. And you're like, what's the difference? You look at her eyes, you look at your eyes, you're like, what's the difference? And then I'm just thinking to myself, what is going on? And my inner child, because I know you're very connected to your heart and you're very heart centered, you go out of the headspace and you get into your heart place and you're very connected to your inner child. So when I watched this, brother, it was like, it was shocking.
mm,
It was shocking. It was very disturbing and shocking to my own inner child. And I felt like I had been living a lie my
mm,
entire life. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know what I'd done. Like, what have I been doing for the last 28 years? At the time I was 28. So
mm,
I asked myself, like, what have I been doing for decades? How?
mm,
How could I have been doing this for decades, not knowing what's going
mm.
on? And then when I went to the grocery store after watching that documentary, it was like, you've seen The Matrix?
Yeah, bro.
So it was like the red pill. Like when he took the red pill
Yeah,
and he looked into the mirror and then his finger kind of went in the glass and then he was sucked in and then he was jacked out and unplugged and he just realized that everything was an illusion the whole time. When I went into the grocery store, all I saw were dead bodies. Dead
mm,
bodies. Like before,
yeah,
I saw the ground turkey, I saw the rotisseries, I saw the hot wings, I saw all these things. Now I just saw dead carcasses. Like these are dead bodies,
yeah,
And I was like, how was I just dressing up these bodies with Parmesan garlic and hot sauce and ketchup and salt and
mm,
vinegar and like, what was I doing? What?
yeah,
So it just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense, and I was horrified. I was horrified for quite some time. It was tough. It was tough to kind of come back, and I had to forgive myself. I had to give myself a lot of grace and compassion. I had to
mm,
forgive my family because I'm the only one. I'm like the
yeah,
only one in my family who doesn't eat animals pretty much right now. I don't know anybody else in my family that lives the way that I live today that's,
yeah.
completely vegan. But my goodness, brother, tremendous respect to you. Tremendous. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, bro. It's interesting because like the ethical side of it came after for me.
Okay.
at the beginning, it was about optimization of my human body,
Mm.
and intuitively, it led me to. Initially, I went into this fruit stuff with a intention just to cleanse. Because
Okay.
I started rejecting the meat. I spewed up a couple of times after I'd eaten some meat. I was like, what the fuck's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And and then I reached out to a lady who used to come to, I used to run these breathwork sessions on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And she used to come to them and she'd talk about like humans are frugivores and this. And I was like, oh yeah, you're off your fucking chops. But it was so, she was glowing.
Yeah.
She had the most radiant fucking energy out of anyone that came.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to reach out to her. She just kept popping up in my mind. This is my intuitive side of me that I was like, okay, well, if that's what my intuition is saying, I'm going to reach out to her.
Mm-hmm.
And she just started sharing her perspectives and what she'd learned and like the anatomy of a human, how it's designed as a frugivore. And the penny started dropping, and I was like, well, I'll give it a go because again, I'm all about that lived experience. You can tell me anything in a book, but if it resonates true, I'll give it a go, and then I'll live from my lived experience rather than taking it as,
Right.
fact. And so I gave it a go. I used herbs, lemons, lemon water to help the liver.
Mm-hmm.
And then I used this combination of 36 different herbs. A company or a couple in Australia, they get the best herbs from around the world and make this beautiful blend. And so that cleaned out the GI tract. So this is what I was all about optimizing my
Mm-hmm.
body. And then, the ethics kind of came after.
Okay.
Um, so I was cleaning my whole system using the fruit, and it was insane how emotional the journey was.
Okay.
Because what I started realizing is I used to eat all the
Mm-hmm.
time, and it was to suppress a lot of the frustration, the anger, these emotional feelings that I didn't allow myself to feel growing up, as a man, growing up on a farm, growing up in these rugby environments. I would constantly suppress my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was able to, what I found fruit does is it's not heavy. It's very light compared to these dense foods,
Mm-hmm.
especially like your heavy proteins or your processed things, which numb our vibration. But
Right.
with fruit actually vibrates higher than the human body, so you can't numb your vibration with it. So what ends up happening is these heavy vibrations that we've been storing in our fascia tissue, they begin to arise and want to come out of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was having to hold myself, and the woman that was Nova that was sort of supporting me. Um, I was like, I'm going all in on this. It was 3 months, and I let myself feel. I'd go down to the beach, and there'd be like this like let out some
Mm-hmm.
yells. I'd cry. I'd squeeze, and the body would be moving in different ways, and it was like this expansion, the spaciousness coming into my system as this like dead decaying waste that had been in my GI tract for who knows how long,
Yeah.
10, 15 years sometimes. 10 kilos came out of me. 10 kilos, bro.
Jesus
And
Christ.
I was the same size, like muscular wise, but 10 kilos of the mucoid plaque, the waste, the gunk came out of me, bro. And it was so rank, but it felt
Oh,
so good.
oh my
Like
God.
so that there was like moments where it felt like there was this big coiling snake coming out of my body. And John Rose, you may have come across, he refers to it as the serpent.
Serpent.
And
Yeah.
like the herbs were pulling this out of me, and um,
Oh, man.
it was a beautiful feeling.
That's
Uh,
Jesus.
yeah,
That's a resurrection. That's a
a resurrect.
resurrection, bro. You rose again, bro. You
Mm,
rose again, bro. Like that's a resurrection for sure, and just a deeper connection with your body. Like you gained a new body. You know,
yes,
you
yes.
gained a new body. Like you are not
Hmm.
the same. So, can you explain for people who maybe have heard about, or maybe have never even heard about mucoid plaque, because I mean, shout out to all the fearless warriors out there who have released it and got it out of the body. And I've seen different, photos, videos from, men and women who, once they get it out the body, same thing as you said, is just like totally just, oh my gosh, it finally releases, and it's just, it smells like death, and it's squishy, it is green, it's
Because
like,
that's what it is, bro. I was like, it stinks like dead animals in here. And it's because that's what it is. It's rotting, decaying dead animals. It's been sitting in your
oh
guts.
man.
It's it's hectic, bro. And then you got the parasites and the worms, which can influence the nervous system, how we think, and they create the cravings that we think we're craving. Oh, I really need, this and that. It's like, no, you don't.
Nah.
That's not you.
Not at all. Not at all. So why do you feel like more people don't even believe it exists? Like there's people that will say, "Oh yeah, that was in her body, but that can't that
Mm.
can't be in my body." Like that came out of her, but nah, I don't think that's in me, you know?
What I've actually noticed, bro, is when I explain it to people, that something lights up in them. They go, "Oh fuck, that." That I think that just the education, the awareness
Mhm.
is huge, and a lot of people aren't even aware. I'm just reading some of the comments.
Mhm.
I've never heard of
Yeah.
that. Yeah, well, like it's firstly just education, allowing people to become aware because I didn't know about it until I was explained. It was explained to me, so I think that piece is really important.
Mhm.
Um, and then a simple protocol that people can follow
Mhm.
to if they want to take action on that.
Mhm.
And again, it's simple, but it's not super easy
Mhm.
um, because we're so addicted.
Yeah.
We're so addicted. There's I think it's Barry Goldshammer, and he runs a fasting clinic in
Mhm.
America, and he takes people through prolonged water
Right.
fasts and up to 40 days
Right.
and healing people from absolutely any
Mhm.
condition because the body knows how to heal all illness and diseases, even cancers and all of it. It's just a build-up of acid in the body, and then it stores itself in different ways. It goes to the weak points, and then you get this condition. That's why there's always new conditions, coming out because the way where we've got to as a species, we're so fucking full of shit, and the
Mhm.
food that we eat is so far from our optimal food that the body is so incredible at adapting. This is where we go wrong because it's so good at adapting. We don't think there's anything wrong until it's really wrong,
Exactly.
and so it's a matter of like, okay, let's unwind things and what is the most optimal way to go about it. That's how I always approach things,
Right.
and then listen to that intuitive guidance that the body has the intelligence.
Exactly. Great explanation, brother. Great explanation, Ru, when you're talking about the adaptation. You know, I have to give the body so much credit. Like, we got to pat ourselves on the back, we got to realize,
Mm,
like, wow, it is through, against all odds, against all odds, just keeping us in homeostasis, keeping our pH levels balanced, like keeping us in a state of functioning, even in just, when somebody's got, even upwards of, you've heard of people who have a body mass index of over 60, people who are able to be, just the ability, when you think of the ability to be
oh,
what they call it super morbidly obese, like
mm-hmm,
super morbidly
mm,
obese, over 600 pounds on the bed,
mm,
and just like somebody's got to roll them over to like wash them underneath, and then roll the other
yeah,
side over to like wash them underneath, and they're still alive.
yeah.
Still alive.
That's incredible.
That's incredible. That's amazing.
That's
You know?
incredible.
So I
Yeah.
just look at that, and it just blows me away. I'm like, if we know that that is possible, why we discredit the opposite? Like, why don't we think the opposite is possible
Mm.
when that's possible? Anything's
Yeah.
possible. Anything, you
Yeah.
know? So it's that's the clear evidence right there of our just our resilience and the
Resilience.
body's brilliance, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a $1 trillion piece of biotech, and it will adapt to anything.
Yeah.
Like, the environment, the smoke, the toxins, and it will filter it. If we keep it hydrated,
Right.
it will continually be able to cleanse itself
Right.
and regenerate. But why not create the best environment possible for it and see what is possible? I don't feel like humans know what we're capable of. People think living to 100 is a long
Mm.
time. That is such a limited way of looking at this beautiful thing, especially if we care for it, we put it in supportive environments, we nourish it not only with the right food but the right energy in terms of the people, the air we're breathing. So critical. Obviously, you know a lot about that, and it's funny. The air quality is something that I value so highly now.
Mhm.
I was over in Thailand last year in Bali, and I struggled at when I was in those areas with lots of scooters and lots of like burning plastic, which I really struggled with. And then getting back to New Zealand and driving down south where there's all this
Mhm.
lush fucking ferns and fresh water. It was like heaven because I could breathe this rich air. And we both know that's the number one fuel source for the human body.
Oh.
And the human system can live purely on air.
Mm.
And I know that's going to sound fucking wacko to a lot of people, but it's truth. There's people that are out there doing it.
Right.
There's a guy I actually just connected with through, it was either through you or I connected with you through him. He's on 34th day of
Is
a
it
of a
agape?
fast.
Agape?
Agape, yeah.
Agape, yeah. Hmm.
And it's but the thing is, in this world that we've grown up in and the damage that we've done to our bodies through the 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 way that we've gone about it for a while, it can take a while to get there, and it's not something you just do
Right.
overnight. But
Right.
it's like a transition, and this is what Arnold Ehret talks about in the mucusless diet: is the best way to, or the most sustainable way of creating that change is going about it as a transition. It's like, where are you now? Where do you want to go? Let's slowly work our way there in a sustainable way, rather than do these fad diets and like, right, we're all in, which can work for some people. It's kind of actually how I did it,
Mm.
but it was a transition as well. So
Okay.
um, yeah,
So
it's there's lots of different nuances going on, but
it's it's a journey. It's a
mm,
journey, and a learning because when you're talking about earlier as well, Ru, when you mentioned that, it's only when things get really bad that some people realize like there's a problem. It's almost like their body has gotten so good at the adaptation that they don't sense the the frustration, like they don't see the extent of the constipation because of the adaptation.
hmm.
They don't really see like how bad it's gotten because it's just maintaining in that state, and it's just learned how to adjust, through the just the beautiful miracle of the body. So some people feel like, sensitivity is a curse, almost like they don't
Yeah.
want to feel those feelings or those emotions or even the pain, even though they might be living in pain, they don't want to feel the pain of getting out of the pain that they're already in. So it's like that's going to take so much more effort versus where, when I started feeling things that I wasn't even feeling before, when just a little bit felt toxic, like having a cup of coffee after I'd been
Mm,
away from it for a long time and then just completely being slapped in the face by like one cup of coffee. And I'm like,
mm,
whoa, what is
mm,
that? That never used to hit me like that. I felt like I poisoned myself. And
mm.
then just, to get to a level of sensitivity where the body it's exhibiting the toxicity quickly, very quickly.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's almost like it's like a blessing in disguise to be that sensitive to
Yeah.
detect that there is a problem. Yeah.
Yes, it's a blessing and a curse
Right.
because there's no getting away with eating a fucking biscuit. I'll
Right.
instantly get like a fucking mucus and build. I'll be
Hmm.
sneezing, and my eyes will swell up. I never used to get. I used to eat fucking milkshakes,
All the
burgers,
time.
pizzas, like everything, and I was kind of like I couldn't really breathe properly through my nose, but I
Hmm.
thought it was normal.
Right.
And now I go, holy dooly. I have one like, a couple people are like, oh, but surely you can just have a little bit. I'm like, I could, but it's not worth it. It's not worth 3 or 4 hours of the body going into detoxification mode, trying to get rid of the crap that I just put in. So it makes it easier to say no to things.
Hmm.
It doesn't say that craving still isn't there because that's the hardest part to overcome is these addictions that we've come to: salt, oil, and sugar.
Mm.
You eat any food without salt, oil, and sugar, what are you going to eat? It's almost nothing apart from fruit.
Mm.
It's nothing's appealing
Right.
without salt, oil, or sugar on it.
Right.
And these are the things that we've come addicted to, and it's what the big corporates have figured out, and they've found that bliss point with all three of them,
Mm.
the salt, oil, and sugar. So it's and that's what the Gold Hammer fella he's written a book about it. He calls it SOS. And for me, the hardest one to let go of was, or still is salt. I still put some salt in my avocados and stuff.
Yeah.
There's still a part of me, I believe we a little bit of that is okay.
Mm.
Um, but the sugar was the easiest one,
Okay.
um, because I could just substitute fruit or have some dates, and that would overcome that craving.
Right.
I think having substitute foods is really important when transitioning, and then the oil. So oils like your butter, your oils that you cook with, all these kinds of things. Oil fucks me up,
Um,
man. I'll get
yeah.
itchy. I'll get the mucus build up, and that
Mhm.
one's so
Yeah.
clear, and it's been reasonably easy to let go of. But again, I didn't feel any of the sensitivity until I'd cleared the
There you-
vessel, and then the vessel goes, okay, that's good, that's not good, that's good, and you just start realizing, okay, I know the body is telling me what it wants, what supports it best, and
Exactly.
that quality, that ability to be able to listen and understand your intuitive sensation going on in your body. I think that's the key to it
Mm.
all. You listen to that, it'll guide you exactly where you need to
For
go.
sure. For sure. And we have Haruka from Japan. She's asking you, Ru, even coconut oil. She's asking, even coconut
Uh,
oil?
Coconut. So, oh, that's a tricky one. I put coconut oil on my skin every day,
Mm.
and I don't really eat it.
Okay.
No, I'd just eat or drink coconuts. Drinking coconuts is one of the best ways to hydrate the system,
For
and
sure.
then eat the flesh.
Mm.
But I don't know what you'd be using coconut oil for. Like you don't want to be cooking any oils because then it's no longer the oil. Like actually some oils are okay, but anything if it's just purely that oil cold pressed,
Mm.
okay, but anything you're buying in the supermarket is degenerated. It's got the light,
For sure.
these fluorescent lights, which is changing the chemical bonds in it. Most of it has been heated, and which completely changes the structure of it.
Hmm.
And it's not even the oil that it says it is. Even like an expensive olive oil in a bottle is most of the time rancid. And this is purely from me testing it
Yeah.
by having it
Mm.
and then feeling like the what it's doing. I think it would be different if I was over in like Greece and got some pressed olives
Mm.
and had that. I really want to try that and see what happens. I think that would be okay because same with coconut oil. I don't get reaction when I have a spoonful of that or have it with something.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. And she's also asking about rice. She wanted to know your opinion on rice.
Um, she's not gonna like it.
Go ahead,
Uh,
brother. I mean, she's in
well,
Japan. you know?
Yeah, yeah. And this is the thing, it's like that culturally, it's like what we're talking about is so far afield from any culture
Okay.
besides some that are maybe like living in the forest still in Papua New Guinea. I don't know. Like it's so far. Like you have to go back thousands and thousands of years and think like what was the human doing in an ideal situation? I believe humans are an equatorial being. They thrive around the warm climates where there's fruit available all year round. That's where I'm drawn to. The more that I've connected with myself, but with in terms of rice, again, it's from my experience. I eat rice, I get really congested, I get heavy, I get lethargic, I get tired after I eat it rather than energized. Food's meant to be fuel, right? You eat fruit and you feel energized after it. You feel you can go for a
Right.
run. Um, Rice, you're like, ooh. Um, Constipates me. It builds mucus. It's very mucus forming actually for me. So I can't do rice anymore.
Me as well.
As much as I loved it.
Me as well. Same here, brother. I ate a lot. I ate a lot of Japanese food, a lot of Chinese food, a lot of, just the sticky rice, like all of that stuff I used to eat with the soya sauce, like all the time. And I had so many problems as well. Like I said, I resonate with you on so many levels. I felt like I was just seeing another version of myself when I'm looking
Mm,
at you and I'm listening to your story, Ru, because when you talked about the nasal congestion, my God, my God, it was like I battled with they call it sleep apnea,
hmm
right? For years, I couldn't sleep for years. My sleep was cut in half every night.
hmm
I was going to sleep in class all the time. I thought I had narcolepsy. I was falling asleep during the day
hmm
all the time, and I couldn't hardly breathe through my nose. I was coughing up mucus, and it was my normal. I
We
would
think
fall
it's normal.
It was normal for me. I would fall asleep in scenarios where, I would fall asleep driving on the road. I was falling asleep and I was wondering what is going on. They did sleep studies on me where they hooked up stuff to nodes on my brain to figure out what was the problem. They gave me a CPAP machine, so I was breathing like Darth Vader at one point. I was like,
Whoa. Yeah.
like at night, late at night, I had a machine to help me breathe at night to go to sleep. And the problem kept persisting. I was still falling asleep at odd hours. Then they said I had a deviated nasal septum, right? Now,
Yeah.
at no point, Ru, did they ask me about my diet.
Yeah.
At
Wow.
no point. Okay? Then they said I had a
Wild.
deviated nasal septum, so they did surgery on me. I had surgery, a surgical procedure to correct, my nose, and it still persisted. The problem still persisted. So even after the technology, the machinery, the surgery, the medicine, like the pharmaceutical, like nothing happened until I started fasting, until I started juicing, until I started letting go of all the toxic waste. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it was like, what? This was, that's all I had to do
Mm.
this whole time. Are you telling me?
Yeah.
You're telling me all I had to do was stop. It's
Yeah.
like I never made the connection between what I
Yeah.
was putting in my body. I
Yeah.
just kept myself in that state for so many years, you know?
For- and it's hard to come to that realization because it's so normal.
Yeah,
Everyone's doing it. Everyone's just eating, things that are the suboptimal.
everybody.
Um, what came up in me then is the lymphatic
Mm,
system, and no one really knows what this is,
mm,
and it's just as important, if not more important, than the blood, the blood system, which is all that medical, mainstream medicine looks at is the blood,
mm,
and they forget about the other fluid in the body, which is the lymph,
right.
and the lymph is basically the sewer system of the body.
Mm,
So it helps clean, it helps remove toxic waste, it helps remove all the waste build up in the body. and that's where the cleaning out the colon, the GI tract, the small and large intestine is really important, because you clean that out,
Mhm.
and the body actually has an ionic pressure like the weather system. So if it's all plugged up, the body's like, think of like a sewer pipe all filled with crap,
Right.
and you're trying to get stuff out of it, and it's all clogged up. It's going to start filling up, coming out the toilet into the house, being your body, and shit is everywhere.
Mm.
Okay, so we want to clean those pipes so that the house can clean, and it's not going to continually fill up with crap, and it's working efficiently. And the lymphatic system doesn't have its own pump like the blood
Mm.
does. It needs movement. So simply like standing on the spot,
Yeah.
bouncing, walking, any form of exercise, you're going to get your lymph moving.
Mhm.
Sweating is a beautiful way to support that system. And the lymphatic system it's crucial to understand when it comes to illness and disease, because that is generally the the cause when we've got skin conditions, when we've got neurodegenerative conditions. It's because the body's not eliminating the toxic waste that is building up in it. So when we can get that functioning properly again, get really
Mhm.
hydrated, it's going to be able to filter much more efficiently, and you'll find your health comes back really quick
Yeah.
if you can just follow that process. And again, it's not it's so simple, but
Mhm.
the emotional side of it and allowing yourself to feel these uncomfortable sensations, they're
Right.
not bad sensations, they're just
Right.
uncomfortable, and allowing yourself to be on that is the magic. That's where it can happen really quick.
Allowing. Allowing. That's the perfect word, brother. You use the perfect word, that allowance, you
mm,
know?
mm,
Just like giving yourself permission to feel it in order to heal it, you know?
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah. My goodness, we have some more questions. So people, as you were speaking, Ru, we have arising from stillness. They asked, do you have advice about the herb mix? Maybe you could mention a little bit more about the herb mix. So shout out to Ivica.
Yeah, I'll the herb mix I use is called Quenda
Okay.
Ultimate Fiber, and it's from a couple in Australia here, and they're over in Perth in Western Australia. But it's what Nova recommended when she was supporting me at the beginning of my journey,
Yeah.
and I've actually been doing it, having a little bit of it again recently.
Okay.
And basically, what it is a blend of 36
Mm.
herbs, and he is so um, he's so it's such high quality. Like if one of the 36 herbs is not available and he can't get that supply, it's like the best organic herb from that best for that exact herb. It's like the best in the world. He'll bring them together.
Mhm.
If one of them's not available, he'll stop the line until it's there and they can produce again. He won't go to the second rate herb. So
Oh,
I really believe in that product, and the efficacy and the quality behind it. For me, that's so important. Is the love and the genuine um, energy that's put into bringing these plants, essentially is what they are, um, to other people. And so yeah, Quenda Ultimate Fiber,
okay.
and I just get the original one. And you get one pot. It's quite expensive. It's about 100 Australian dollars for a pot, and that will do you
Mm.
2 weeks. And you have it twice a day, one in the morning, one at night. And basically, what it's doing is it's like this sludgy. Nova calls it the love sludge.
Mm.
It's like this sludgy, kind of astringent, very potent mix, and it goes through the system, and it's basically pulling all the crap off the walls,
Mm.
and it's helping make a really bad environment for any parasites and worms to thrive in. Where before, when we're eating all of our animal products and our other sugary things, not fruit because it's different, the sugar's different, but the sugary things, that creating a beautiful environment for parasites and worms to thrive in. So when we can put this really potent, like natural, think of like that really like uh, when you eat green leafy stuff, you're like, oh, that tastes healthy. You know, it's that kind of feeling going through your body, and you can almost feel it, and then it pulls the crap out, and your shits feel amazing. So it's a good way to get that part of the system moving. It's what I recommend before anything else is just clean your system. Even if you're not going all in on fruit, ideally you are for a period of time while you're doing that. But even if you can't get yourself to do that, using the herbs is going to do a good hunk of work on clearing out that mucoid plaque.
For sure, for sure. And what a name, Love Sludge. The Love
Yeah,
Sludge.
yeah. I want to make herbs one day, and I'm going to call it the love
The
sludge.
Love Sludge. The Love
Oh
Sludge.
yeah,
Man, shout out to Nova,
yeah,
shout
yeah.
out just to having a guide, to having a support system, to having just an angel around you during that time of transition, during that time where you had to stay on your mission, you know? Like, geez, just having Nova and just the name, such a
Mm,
light, like Nova,
yeah,
like a
yeah, bro.
supernova for the world. And I loved how you spoke earlier, Ru, about, just glowing,
Mm,
like to be
mm,
able to see somebody and they're telling you, we're frugivores, and you're like, get out of here,
yeah,
like
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
like, I've heard this before. But then there were just certain aspects and certain just certain qualities that were undeniable.
Mm,
You're like witnessing somebody who's glowing, their skin is glowing, they're radiant, their aura is glowing, and it's ringing, and you're
mm-hmm,
wondering, like, well, one of these people are not like the others. What are
mm,
they doing that others are not
mm,
doing? You know?
mm.
So it's interesting just to be able to see that and to be able to be that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And I really practice not identifying
Right.
as a frugivore or a fruit eater.
Mhm.
I say I eat fruit, and it's occasionally I'm starting to try and capture attention a little bit more on Instagram. So I might use words and stuff that are catchy, or people go what. But myself, I don't identify as a frugivore. This is what I eat.
Right.
Like sometimes I can have a coffee, I can eat a fucking pizza, I can go over steak if I want to, but I just choose to eat like this.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I identify with something, I'm creating limitation. I'm creating boundary. I'm losing my freedom.
Mm.
And I think it's a thing in the vegan community that they get wildly wrong is this identification with what they
Okay.
eat. And I think it's far more important uh, to not use any
Yeah.
labels, and to you're a human being, and you're just
Mm.
eating. And what works best for you, and what works best for me is
Yeah.
fruit.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah.
But
Simple
like
and plain.
I love like coming back to the nasal
Yeah.
congestion, bro. I think it's so important because I know. I even knew before, the sort of fruit journey that the breath is the number one fuel source
Mm.
of energy in the body. So if anything you eat congests your number one fuel source in your body or way of absorbing oxygen,
Mm.
that is wildly suboptimal. That
Yeah.
is not doing your body any good. You're putting your body into a sympathetic state. It's stressed out, it's having to work way
Mm.
harder. And that's a thing. Like if you begin to think of your body as energy and vibration, your digestive system needs, I think it's 30% of, or it uses about 30% of the energy.
Mm.
Um, so if, or if it's having to process heavy, dense things,
Mm.
even more energy has to go to that could be going to regenerating cells. It could be going to the brain to think of creative ideas and put into creative work. So the lighter the food, the easier digesting the food, the more creative potential that you have. And what is actually one of the hardest things I found is the experience of life is vastly different. It's a very different experience of life, and that change can be too
Mm.
much. It can be so drastically different that we resort back to what we know and the familiar known. Even though it might be a more uncomfortable of a way of living, it feels more safe. It feels more
Right.
known. But but changing so much and living in the unknown is where the magic happens. Um, so that yeah, the energy to digestion. Think of it like if I can just eat some lighter foods, hydrating foods, I've got more energy available for my the truth of me, the area that I really want to go in life. And one last thing I want to add with the consumption of fruit is the simple sugar in fruit,
Mm.
fructose, which is very different than your complex sugar that you find in biscuits and lollies. I don't know what you call them in America, sweets.
Yeah.
Um, that simple sugar fructose is what the brain uses as energy. It converts glucose into fructose. So the brain runs on fructose,
Mm.
the most simple energy, and it is found only in fruit. So it makes me go, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the brain runs on fructose, and it is like the most important organ to our existence. Uh, that's
Yeah.
interesting, and just approaching it with that.
Yeah.
That was one that really landed for me.
Yes, I love that you just ponder and you're just like, that's interesting.
Mm.
You know? Wait a minute. So the brain, we need it and it's only coming from one place. Isn't that interesting? You know? It's coming from
Yeah.
over there. It's not coming from over there. Isn't that interesting?
And, hmm.
You know, just yeah, like wow, that's something to think about. I love this. I love this, brother. You know,
Hmm.
you mentioned as well you doing breathwork sessions and even breathwork classes, like guiding people through breathwork. So you said that Wim Hof was one of your influences, and I've seen these awesome videos of you doing this breathwork where you're like sucking in, you're vacuuming in your abdomen, and it's like boom, you're doing the rapid breathing, or maybe even like what is it called, like Bastrika or
Yeah.
a different
Yeah. Nali Kriya.
Nali Kriya.
I
Oh,
forget all the Sanskrit words for it. I kind of just play with it now,
where
bro.
did you
Yeah.
learn that? Where did you learn that?
Intuitively,
Mm,
again, quite intuitively, just playing with it, breathing as much as air as I can, then moving it around, sucking in, trying to roll my stomach. And then I've actually more recently connected with a guy in the States who he's been practicing every day for 15
mm,
years, and he's been sort of giving me some guidance with it. Uh, but yeah, I started like with the Wim Hof, the hyperventilation, which I absolutely do not advocate for anymore.
okay.
I'm very much about gentle, slow nasal breathing. We want to be breathing as slow as we
Mm,
can. If the slower we breathe, the longer we live.
mm,
The slower we breathe, the longer we live. All the animals that live the longest on the planet, your whales, your mole rats, your turtles, they have the slowest breath
right.
rates. And again, when we eat heavy, dense food, our breath rate goes through the roof because we're having to work. The body's having to work so hard. When we eat fruit, we're chilling.
Yeah.
We can stay
Yeah.
relaxed, which is for me has been a big. That was a big moment in realizing that. So,
Mhm.
yeah, the breath now, that Nali Kriya and the Ullabanda, I think it's
Yeah.
called, it's all about expanding my breath capacity
Hmm.
so that I can breathe slower, no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm resting, I'm walking, I'm exercising. When I'm exercising, I never breathe through my
Mm,
mouth. I'm always breathing through my nose.
mm,
And if you're exercising and you feel you have to breathe through your mouth, you've gone too far. You want to be expanding your capacity to be able to breathe through your
mhm,
nose. And again, when your system is clean and you're not congested there, it makes it way easier.
mhm,
And what I've realized is it's quite difficult at the beginning as we begin training this way of the body adapting, because when we breathe through our nose, we we are holding in more of the carbon dioxide, which is actually what we need to transport the oxygen into the working muscle
mm,
tissue so that it can work more efficiently. If we're blowing off the carbon dioxide and the oxygen is actually binding to the hemoglobin and it's not able to release into the muscle tissue as effectively.
okay.
So we don't recover as fast or as quickly. I could the endurance has gone through the roof for me. Like I can just exercise and keep going for
Mhm,
hours, whereas I used to go real hard, have to stop, and it was the start stop. I can wake up the next day fully recovered,
right.
and and this is due to the oxygen utilization and the muscles not being in a sympathetic response.
Mm,
They're constantly in a parasympathetic response. I don't feel like I'm fearing for my life when I'm exercising, which is actually what's happening for most people when they're mouth breathing. They go into the sympathetic response.
mm,
The whole nervous system is jacked up, and that takes a lot of energy for the body to not only come back to homeostasis and balance, but to then recover after that. So um, even like at the end of your workouts or your exercise routine, laying down and practicing some real slow nasal breathing just for 5 minutes,
mm.
that's really going to help as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like just being in Savasana, just being prone, just laying down and just, oh man, this is great advice. Like this is great, tips for people who are just wanting to learn more about the body's functioning, the optimization of the body. And I feel like you answered the question because Christina had a question down here for you, Ruth. She said, do you think breath of fire has its place? And I guess you were just answering that question just now. Yeah.
Yeah, so breath of fire, um, I think it's
Mm,
a great way to regulate the temperature in the body. So if you're too hot, it can blow off heat.
mm,
And if you're too cold, you can actually visualize a fire within you and
mm.
it can warm your body. So I think it's a beautiful way to regulate temperature in the system,
Okay.
that breath of fire.
Gotcha.
There was a question,
Okay.
someone was asking about honey,
Okay. Honey.
and I'm actually okay with honey.
Mm,
Um, which is yeah, I'm okay with honey. I enjoy it, and like I have a little jar of honey. I always get wherever I move, I get a local honey,
mm,
and I just like sip it. I just have the jar and I'll sip it. And what happens when you have the honey from a local area? It helps your connection with the bushes, the natural
mm,
environment, and you don't get it helps, especially if you're very sensitive to the
mm.
pollens. And you don't get what's it called, hay fever, which is just again an accumulation of the system not working properly. But the honey can really help prevent that.
Hmm.
And I think it's because the bees are getting the honey from these plants and giving it in a digestible way. So I'm still not super clued up on all the efficacies of um, bees
Right.
and how sustainable that is. But for me, like just purely eating it, I'm sweet
Okay.
and I enjoy it.
Okay. And one of the last questions I wanted to ask you, Ru, is I've seen a lot of, influences that you've written down about Buddha, these teachings of the Buddha, and it sounds like Buddha is one of your great influences, or at least a great influence in your life. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure, man. I I've not I've never been a big reader. but
Mhm.
whenever I come across a quote or I hear about a story or something of the Buddha, it always rings to my heart, man. And the biggest thing for me is he was an embodiment of his message. He didn't actually speak a lot. He was there to live. He lived his message. Uh, and for me, that's what I like to try and do. I try and live my message, and obviously, like I think it's really important to speak into our experience and share that too. But a huge part of it is being a living example of your message, and I really feel that that's the message that I get from the Buddha is that embodiment of his truth, and yeah, that resonates with me.
Yeah. Living the message. There's some statues of like a laughing Buddha. Sometimes you see different types of Buddhas, but I definitely see you in that childlike nature. I see you just able to have levity. I loved what you said the other day, Ru, when you mentioned like, hey, if someone you follow or if you have a mentor or a leader or somebody just in a position that doesn't have a sense of humor, you're like,
Mm.
no.
Yeah.
You're like,
Down
son of
there.
that. You're like,
Yeah.
that is not what we're about here. You're saying, we are here to laugh, to love, to live. You know?
Mm. Yeah, bro. It's it. Little laugh, love, and love. As corny as that sounds, it's the truth. Uh, I think humor. It was really interesting because I lost a lot of that when I was doing my breath work and running these events. It was so serious. It was like we're holding space, and it got really heavy,
Mm,
man. And I was like, "Fuck, this isn't me."
mm,
And I got really sucked into that side of it, and I was forgetting what this life is all about. And the more I watch and observe
right.
children, the more I remember. It's the freedom, it's the non-attachment with any of it, of any ways of being, and to see the truth in it. And when I see the truth in my living experience, I normally come to a bit of a chuckle
Mm,
because it's so ridiculous. Most of the things that we do as people, we're so fucking lost and we think we've got it figured out. And I find that hilarious. And and like, yeah, people that I go to and I learn from now, instead of like that serious, um, this is the way person. I'm all about the people that are light-hearted, that have this beautiful expression of joy,
mm,
that childlike energy, but with that wisdom of a grandparent. That's a powerful energy and a beautiful thing to be around. So I just try and emulate that, and the more I get to the core essence of who I am, the more that shines through.
yeah. Oh man, that's beautiful. Just, the wisdom of the elder and the playfulness of the child, like to
Mm,
have that curiosity for life, for living, the sense of wonder, the sense of magic, the sense of laughter, you know, and just to have the heart be as light as a feather. We
mm,
do a lot better when it's light as a feather.
mm. Yeah, man.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Brother, please let people know if this is the first time that they've ever seen you before, Ru, and they really just have been drawn to your story. They just want to get in touch with you, in tune with any of your offerings or services. Is there anything
Mm.
that you have available for people, or what would be the best place that people should go to find your offerings?
Yeah, man. Yeah, firstly, thank you, bro. It's been awesome chatting. Um, yeah, I've got a 3 month training
Okay.
coming up. I'm actually in the process of writing a book, but
Mm,
these group containers
mhm,
online that I've been running, it's a community of individuals that have an open mind. They're ready to explore themselves and understand and connect with that intuitive wisdom that we've been talking about. It's not all about just becoming a fruit eater. It's about understanding ourselves. It's becoming the creator of our reality, removing ourselves from any victim mentalities that we might be in, and knowing thyself, being able to freely express and find that freedom within. And over the 3 months, we go through some different practices. We talk about different topics, and it's a really discussion-based thing. And some of the results that we see in there are pretty awesome. And the connections made, the transformations undergone. So if you're keen on that, just flick me a DM on Instagram, and I'll get in touch. We'll have a chat and see if it's a good fit from there.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I know I seen like a link in your Instagram as well, just for like a 20-minute call or like a
Yeah,
introduction call.
exactly, bro. Really, that's really just for, yeah, anything. If you're wanting to chat and connect, and then if you're wanting to take it further, I can let you know what we're doing basically in that 3 month training as well. So,
Beautiful.
yeah, that's my offering at the moment, and yeah, if you can, get in touch and we'll connect.
Awesome, awesome. Well, all right, brother. Just enjoy the rest of your day. I know your day is just beginning. My day is
Mm,
ending here. You know,
mm,
we're on opposite sides of the world, but thank you, brother, for this energy that you transmitted out here today. And just your love of life, your love of aliveness,
mm,
be alive. I love that. You
mm,
put two eyes, to this
mm.
alive.
Yeah, bro, it's a laugh. Oh, bro, it's been awesome. I really appreciate, yeah, you having me on, and the just your energy, your essence, bro. You have a beautiful way of conducting a chat like this, and yeah, thank you for being you, bro.
Awesome.
Sending love, and every single one of you that have tuned in over this time as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, thanks for listening and being here.
All right. Take care. Take
Rest
care.
easy, my bro. Peace.
Peace.